Think we got a great episode for you this week. That's because Jerry Stackhouse joins the pod, entering his third year as the boss at Vanderbilt, guiding the men's basketball program. Coach, your successes on the court during your playing career, they're widely known. They're widely documented. 2 decades in the league, 2-time All-Star, your All-American career at UNC. Is widely documented at this point. So was looking forward to having you on the show. I always enjoy our conversations. I leave them feeling like I've learned something and feel kind of inspired. So you're kind of take some time out. Appreciate it.
No doubt, man. Glad to be here, man. Like you said, I've always enjoyed our interactions before games and stuff, man. So I'm glad to be here and glad to share.
Well, and you know me, I've maintained this one and contended this one over the years. I also refer to you as the most sartorially refined coach, and maybe in college hoops. But if I'm afforded one lame alliteration here, are we also adding to the byline like virtuoso of Vanderbilt? Because like you've done that before, the anthem, singing of the national anthem.
Oh man, yeah.
I think this was the first time Nashville was introduced to this.
Yeah, man, it was different. I mean, that was the first time I've ever did it outside. I've done it a couple times, but they've been in the arenas and you can kind of focus on something. Now it was like I thought I might be looking out at center field. I'm looking up at the crowd behind the plate. So it was a little different, man. But I enjoyed that's kind of the SID here. Alan George, he was on me, man. Like, come on, when you gonna sing the anthem? When you gonna? I was like, all right, man. He was like, don't do it for me. Just bless America. I was like, all right, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna bless America this weekend, and it was good. It was good timing, man. Had some good momentum, some great games. The Vandy boys was, just starting their run, and obviously after the big crazy win last night is unbelievable, man. I couldn't believe it. So it's just an exciting time around here for sure.
Yeah, I'll say this: ever since you sang that anthem, I mean, this I haven't seen this team lose. They sweep in a regional, they sweep a super regional. Here they are in the semifinals of the College World Series.
Two more, man. Two more.
Was I think the biggest difference here was you didn't then play in the game that you sang the national anthem ahead of afterward. That was the only difference, I think, from during your career to this.
Yeah, I was able to just go up to the booth and enjoy this one as opposed to getting out there and competing. But now it was just something, man. I grew up in the church. My mom and dad, raised me in the church, and then you either were going to get in the choir or you were going to usher. And I didn't want to stand up all service. So I got in the choir, and, obviously my dad was a pretty good singer. My mom, not so much. So I would definitely say that I got that from him, and he would, be the guy that's leading songs in church, just start the first song in church. He was just that guy. So I guess in a way, every time I get up and sing it now, it's just kind of honoring his memory. I lost him this past year. So it's, so it was, felt pretty good to do it for a number of reasons.
Let's hit this. We were talking about it before we began. Your 2 years at Vanderbilt has featured quite a lot of unique circumstances. I mean, it really has. The pandemic, of course, affected everybody, but that happens during your first season of being a college head coach. There is some significant landscape shifting stuff that's happening this week around the NCAA, NIL going into effect in a number of states, provisions that the NCAA is going to have to take within the next week, the change to the transfer rule. There's been a lot of unique elements that has happened during your short tenure as the Vanderbilt head coach. What is your most significant takeaway evaluation? How have you managed it all in these 2 years?
Well, I think you just manage things from being prepared from different past experiences that you've had, from different people that you've surrounded yourself with, different mentors, different, having faith in what you're doing and what you're about. Obviously it's about, basketball is a big part of it, but you're dealing with young people and trying to, at an important part of their, time in their life. So from that standpoint, things were business as usual. I mean, you still had kids that had different situations, in life, and you're managing those things, but it's just different when it's in the pandemic and you're, everything's a protocol and you're testing and you're doing all these different type of things, and kids, it's so different for them. They're supposed to come in and meet, new people from across the world that they're in college with now, but they're in the dorms and they're not able to socialize. So for a lot of these kids, it's just this year is going to be their first year and of just reality of college. And it's like the first year for us, there were so many moving parts coming in, taking over kind of late in the spring. So that was a funky summer, and then you come to get the pandemic and you don't have a year. So in essence, it's kind of our first year of still trying to figure out what we want to do annually, you know what I'm saying? Because every year has been so different so far, but it's not a bad thing. We don't look at it as a negative. I think we, really started to build identity with the core guys that we started to bring in here. From kind of the team that we inherited, and we're excited about how that's been from a recruiting standpoint, and being able to get the type of pieces that we want, the type of talent that we want to have in here, and we're excited about it, man. So with everything, I'm just glad that we're where we are right now. Thankful, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have any gripe or any harp about what's happened or what. I'm just like, I'm thankful that we're back, and it's enormous normalcy. We worked out, 3 times last week, 3 times this week. And we were back on the road. I was, in Chicago, in Minnesota this week, looking at, kids just, it feels like college basketball and what you're supposed to do. And quite honestly, this is the first time that we're really experiencing it. I think the way that, we should.
And one other takeaway I would add is I think Aaron Nesmith is as good as we all thought he was, taking his game to the next level, getting drafted by Boston after, while it was a truncated sophomore season for him at Vanderbilt, it was a really successful one. Everyone that you hear from up in Boston really sings his praises and lauds the work that he's put in. So I want to ask you this. What stood out? Like, what's an example of what made him uncanny from others?
I mean, he has a natural ability to just shoot the basketball. I mean, it's a God-given ability to be able to shoot a basketball and make it at a high percentage. I don't know if he has the best form that I've ever seen, but he just has a knack of seeing the ball go in. Not that he has bad form, but it's just like he can be falling down and still find a way to get it to go. And I just thought, and how he worked, and he just wanted to be good, man. It killed him when he, like that's, kids. I mean, this kid cried when his season was ended after the very first SEC game, and it's like literally he begged Coach, it doesn't really hurt, I can still go, I can still go, I can finish the season. Like, nah, man, you about to get this thing. You got a bright future ahead of you. I'm sorry, but and his parents, man, they were great. And we, did everything to try to make sure that he had the surgery and do all, and get him ready for that next level. And like, man, and that's what, I knew it. I mean, like I said, it's, unfortunate, man. We had to shift gears from, having some momentum in that first year to losing our best player and try to figure out a way. And we still figured out a way to win a couple, but it's tough when you take, 20, 23 points out of your lineup and the guy that you kind of featuring a lot of stuff around, but my guys just kept grinding. But Aaron is man, I really expect him to just continue to grow. See, they just had a new coaching change, and Ime Udoka, he's been a great guy. Played against him, competed against him. Very smart basketball guy, man. So I'm excited for his next step. Somebody asked me, I did an interview with somebody, and they asked me where would he be in 5 years. I was like, he'd be an all-star in 5 years. And I really believe it just because he can shoot the basketball. He understands, and he learns a little different. I mean, I remember him having to come to my office and really get on the board and walk through some things. Everybody learn a little different, so not just hearing it on the court, but sometimes it's visual. He came to my office and we drew some things on the board there where he was making some mistakes, and sure enough, the next day, he was doing it and he catches on. So I just feel like, and he nobody's going to outwork him. I mean, I know you going to hear those stories out of him, and it's just going to become more loud and rampant that, he's going to be that first guy in the gym, the last one out, and he's not going to leave until, he make 5 from each spot in a row. And I mean, that's the type of stuff that where, you have an opportunity to be special if you do that consistently.
If he's an all-star in 5 years, he's on the same trajectory as you, which leads me to what I wanted to bring up next. He is now going to be going through that, developing his formula for success and how to sustain it. When did you feel comfortable with yours? How did you do it? Like, when did you feel comfortable with the routine, the formula to be successful as you were? And how did it develop?
Well, I mean, first you got to get to a situation where you're in a winning situation. Aaron really lucked out. I mean, he went to a great organization that was established, and they had some young stars, but they've already had some success, in having some playoff runs and different things like that. Normally in a lottery, selection, you're not there. I mean, being drafted in third pick, I was with a team that had won 15 games, and we won, 18 the next year, my year there. So obviously, man, I was going home, putting my head under the pillow, like, man, I believe everybody's watching me, and really not understanding that that's the process. That's the process of how, when you go to those bad teams, of building and understanding. And I think, he's got the development piece there. I mean, they have a G League program that was one of the best when I was, in the G League. I think it's the Boston Maine. There was the Maine Red Claws. I think they're just the Maine Celtics or something now, but they do a good job. And I don't know how, if Aaron even ever went down to the G League, but they do a good job of developing those guys. And I think that's the key. He got to a situation, a great development piece, a team that had some success. And that's where, for me, that's what it was. When I got to Detroit in Philly, we never really got that. We were just still trying to, just show that we could play in the league, and prove that we belong. And then once you kind of prove that, then you start thinking about winning. And then when I was in Detroit and I was around the Joe Dumars and the Grant Longs and the Rick Mahorns and Grant, those guys that have been around and know how to win. It was, just how they carried themselves. Then I knew, all right, this is what it takes. This is how I got to approach it every day. It's no off season really. You got to come in, continue to get better, continue to bring something new to the table the following year. And that was just always my approach. Get better, and then you just learn how to play and how to win. And once you develop that, hopefully it's not too late. Some guys don't get it until it's too late. They start to, the skills start to diminish. I mean, or physically start to diminish, but the game is slowed down for them completely. And I think that's the good thing about Aaron's situation. He's seeing good basketball early, and it's being in the playoffs, his first year, and those things are invaluable when you come to continue to progress.
Well, and I know you've stayed in touch with them quite a bit at times this year. We were joking about it a few months back where, of course, you two stay in touch, and he's having some great successes. So I kind of made the joke, hey, Danny, Mr. Ainge, I'll send the invoice, sometime soon for the consulting. But going back to what you just said, the winning attitudes. What do you remember? What are the examples of things that you remember? Just because the talent on the court, like you said, that if you put the work in, that's going to develop the off the court attitudes, or just the winning attitudes that come with it. What were the examples of what you identified and said, that's what I want to do. That's what I need to do.
Well, I think it's just having an understanding of time and score. I think that's a big key for, not a point guard, a guy that was just a wing, that changed positions. Like I really, again, like I said, I was like a power forward in college, out of necessity, but I was drafted as a shooting guard. So I'm learning that position as I'm learning the league and how to play. So I think just, again, not just take athletic ability out. Yeah, I can go in and I'm gonna jump over somebody a couple times a game, and have a highlight that probably get on Sports Center. But at the end of the game, am I, spacing? Am I doing the things or making sure that we get the exact shot? And those are things that you get from playing with older players that know how to win, know exactly what we want to get, timing and spacing. And I think those are the things that stuck with me. And those are the things that I really focus on in teaching young players that I coach. Understanding how to play with other good players. Normally you've been the guy where you've had the ball all the time, and now there's probably somebody else that's going to get the ball a little bit more than you right away. Maybe you eventually get to that point, but now you got to understand how to share the floor and do different things. And it's a fun blueprint, and it's a fun way to play. The ball's still going to gravitate to the best players. That's still, the coach is going to make sure that he gets a few more opportunities than everybody else. But it's a fun way when it's kind of equal opportunity. You let the ball find the right guy and have confidence that he's going to step up and knock down a shot or make another play. And so it's, that's what I love. I love teaching that. I love being a part of that. And I think our guys that come through here, Aaron, he knows, he's understanding that. I mean, the main thing I told that kid was be a screen. You go screen and you're gonna get open. Right. So that's your guy lose your body, and that's that. So you got to be a great screener. When it's your opportunity and time to set a screen and get your teammates, you're gonna deal yourself to them. Really now they're gonna try their best to get you open every time they can. And he soaked all that stuff up, man. And he was, but and then like sometimes you got to make the extra one too. You're the best shooter out here, man. Like dummy offense. I can't hardly ever even miss the shot in dummy offense, but I still like, man, get off of it sometime. Just make that extra and trust those guys. And now when you take those shots in the game, like I want you to, they still want to come down and defend and screen for you and do all those things. And he was great at that.
You referenced a couple things over the last few minutes, getting to a winning culture. You got there when you moved on to Detroit. You spent some great years, and you referenced already several players that you played with. Joe Dumars, for example, Grant Hill, Ben Wallace. This was the kind of the early years of Ben Wallace. You spent 1 year with Rick Carlisle when he was there in Detroit, your last season in Detroit, and you've talked quite a bit about the impact that he had. I wonder, because you had a lot of success there, all-star seasons, the 57-point game, and then we fast forward to, I guess it would have been September of 2002. And, you've had all this success. You're traded for, it's kind of the you and Rip Hamilton trade. You go to Washington, he comes to Detroit. It seems like you kind of felt, or there was this feeling that Detroit was going to rise, and they eventually did, in terms of their positioning and their excellence in the league. Can you describe the emotions of what that was like leading up to that, the trade? And then do you ever wonder what could have been or what could have happened if that doesn't happen?
No, I think for me, it was just, we was 32-50 in Detroit. And then the next year we was 50-32. And, and then that was like the year we was 32-50, I averaged, that was a year I averaged 29-30. And then, Rick came in like, Stack, we need to use your talents more as a decor. You're going to get two guys on you. I want you to be more in pick and roll, kind of stretching the defense out, and probably you're going to have to sacrifice your scoring, right? And I think we're going to be better as a team. And I bought into it. I was like, all right, man, I want to win. And I did. I only probably averaged like 20, 24, 23, 24 that year, down from 29. We win the Central Division, what I'm saying? And it's just, but in doing so, Rick got Coach of the Year. Corliss Williamson got Sixth Man of the Year. Ben Wallace was Defensive Player of the Year. And I didn't even make the All-Star team. And, and I'm the leading scorer, and I lead us in assists. Right. So on this team. So it's like, man, this was all right. Yeah, I made the sacrifices, but and everybody kind of benefited and the team won, but I didn't receive anything from, not even an All-Star nod on being on the best team in one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So I think just just moving forward, after that season, I don't know, man. I played hurt. I played through everything. And Joe Dumars himself told me, man, you're the max player, the only max player. Right? And I knew that Michael and Fred and those guys, they had been warming. I played well against Washington every time I did. So it was more of a business decision, man. I think, were they going to pay me a max deal, or they have a younger guy to come in, and Rip Hamilton a couple years younger. And I got traded. I heard from Fred Whitfield, who was Michael's kind of right hand, works with the Bobcats now. Fred called me like, Stack, we got you. I was like, I didn't know what he was talking about. Like he got something. I'm in a gun store. I don't know where. I'm out in Birmingham, Michigan or something. So yeah, I got that call from them, and I got traded. Team that I kind of given everything to. But your question about, do I feel like, man, there was so many things that fell into place for that team. I mean, like, they were pretty much just handed Rasheed Wallace. You know what I'm saying? That team's not the same team. I mean, for nothing, just Larry Brown and connections he had in the free, or they pretty much gave him for Bobby Sarr. Imagine that. You trade Rasheed Wallace for Bobby Sarr. So, like, they became a championship caliber team right then. And Chauncey, nothing against, Chucky Atkins, but that was my point guard when I was there. These Lindsey Hunter, who really wasn't a point guard. He was more of a shooter, great shooter. But point guards that I played with at that time was not at the caliber of Chauncey Billups. So you tell me you put Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, and Tayshaun Prince around me, that we don't win a championship, and you're out your damn mind. But you know what I'm saying? So, and that's not, man, I have nothing, Rip, when I look at Rip, I mean, Rip was a younger guy than me, you know what I'm saying? Every time I saw Rip, I was, again, that's why Washington wanted to trade for me, because I was busting Rip's ass every time I seen him. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nothing. He's a great player, went to Detroit, did some great things, shot the ball well for them, has his jersey retired there. But in my opinion, obviously, if things would have stayed the same, I wouldn't have got traded. And the things that happened around that team and the additions there, along with what we had started, we were already Central Division champions. We just had a bad matchup in the playoffs. I think that year we drew Boston, and we didn't have, we think we split with them, but Jersey, who, we beat them every time, and they were on the other side. So it wound up being Boston and Jersey. Boston beat us, and Boston and Jersey for the final. So I just think, and then after that season, we second round again, from not making the playoffs to now going to the second round, to then I get traded. So it's like my progression. I was so dejected kind of going to Washington. I felt like my progression of going up, from, the Sixers to being on bad teams to now becoming an all-star, and now making it to the second round. Now the next step for us is, get to the conference finals, and I'm traded, and I'm going to a team that's talking about making the playoffs for the first time in 10 years.
And it's all about, going back to your point, it does a lot of time depend on how things fall into place and the culture you wind up on. So fast forward a couple of years, you're in Dallas for several seasons. You guys go to an NBA Finals. I mean, that I would assume it was maybe gratifying to be in that winning culture from your perspective. How would you describe those years in Dallas, being part of a winning culture, and helping a team ascend to the NBA Finals?
Yeah, that was the most fun I had as a player. Again, I mean, we were just a good, talented team. Talented bench. We had probably a bench that could have started on probably most teams in the league, and we all, got along. We all just, played our minutes hard, and we had great coaches. I mean, Nelly started out. I got traded there. Nelly, I didn't even know if I was going to be there. I mean, I thought it could have been a part of another deal to move on. And I talked with Nelly, and he was first. He's like, Zach, I was a sixth man. I mean, I really got six starters, because there was a big question about me coming off the bench for the first time and this and that, because I basically feel like I'm still in my prime. I'm after a year in Washington. But he was like, the way he sold it to me, it was like, all right, cool, coach, and it's like, and we were off, and it was like, and it took on a life of its own. Like, what some people thought was a demotion and how I would handle it, it was like, man, I got more fanfare coming in as a sixth man than whoever was starting, you know what I'm saying? Because they were just so thankful that I was, just happy that, we got this guy coming off the bench. As soon as I take off my jersey, it's a roar from the crowd every time. So it's like, man, Dallas was unbelievable. And for us to build a team, Avery takes over there, and, great. I mean, just the identity of how, philosophy of how he taught defense, and how it was so similar to what I learned in North Carolina. And even with the Rick Carlisles and all of them, their schemes didn't match up to what I felt like was how you really defend, and just the way I was taught it by Coach Smith. And so it was, it was good, man. I learned so much from him, and that dynamic is from player management. He was just always making sure that we were cool. He's like, here, Stack, take my credit card, take the guys out, y'all get some dinner, man. Just whatever, get you a couple of nice bottles of wine, and that he just built that camaraderie with us. So we were always hanging out, and we on the coach's dime, man. It's some millionaires that he giving us, so I just think I learned watching him, how to manage my guys. I'm gonna touch my guys every day. Every day I come into the gym, I'm gonna touch him. I ain't just gonna say what's up. I'm gonna grab him, shake the hand. I'm gonna grab him by the shoulder. I'm gonna touch him, and I just think that lets you know that you care about him. And I think that we play like, hey, we down 0-2, we down 1. We always felt like we was gonna win the games, and we did most of the time. It was a hell of a run to the finals. Being a part of that culture, being Mark Cuban, getting to know him and that organization, and so it's like, obviously Detroit was kind of in my prime, but I feel like, Dallas is home too, because I had so much success there and being able to go to the finals. Again, we came up a little bit short. They won it a couple years later, but that was definitely the best experience I had from basketball and winning was 2006 in Dallas.
It was great to hear about the camaraderie. Do we recall the most lavish dinner tab from any of your kids?
No, we ain't heard him too bad, man. It's like, I think it was a place called Nick and Sam's or stuff. But on there, it could be on the road and everything. But I mean, General played plenty of years. He got plenty of money. He wasn't missing it. he got plenty of money, man. He was in them years in Golden State and San Antonio. So, but now I just think it was more the gesture. It wasn't about we'd have gladly picked up the tab, any of us. But we did it when we went out on our own. But that's what you got. You got guys deciding, okay, we're gonna go to dinner, or we're gonna do something, and just those little things, man. Even with grown men, go a long way when you need to, when I need to get at Marquise Daniels, I got to tell Josh Howard, man, come on, man, or whatever. It's like, Stack we was just over his house the other day, so it ain't like it's nothing personal. They know it's about the game. I think that's how you have to manage young men. Your kids are everywhere the same way, especially in this day and age.
Well, it's neat to hear that just permeated, throughout the locker room. At this point, you've referenced a couple of just unique individuals that I of course have to ask about. Do you have what is the best, either Rasheed Wallace, Mark Cuban, Dirk, Avery Johnson story that's airable? And this is the beauty of the podcast format. If you have to take a few seconds here to recall one, I mean, take a moment to think. Any additional time can be edited out.
No, man, it's just, I guess it's so many with those names that you said. I mean, Rasheed, again, just that guy. I mean, going back to college, just him not knowing how to drive. I taught him how to drive. He'll feel the kid coming down there. He driving. I'm like, I let him jump in the car. I look down. He got 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot on the brake. So it's just like that's my man, 50 grand right there. So it's like, again, just imagine having an opportunity to play with him, the same guy that I played with in North Carolina, in Detroit. But that's another story. But no, just all those guys. Avery, I still talk to him regularly. I mean, he brought me to Brooklyn. I mean, kind of really got me into coaching. I really wasn't even supposed to play that last year. I just kind of come in and come like a big player coach for a year. So in essence, he got me started at the professional level, that last year of me playing. And, Nelly, I went out there when I was interviewing for some jobs. I was going out to see him, just kind of talk some hoops and, talk offensive basketball and different things. And, that's a wild dude, man. He's, so that I could, the only thing I just got to say, he has his own brand of cannabis. So I'll leave it as
which I guess is not that surprising. This almost makes sense to me.
Man, and he's the man in Maui. I mean, like he's the man. He got in over there early and bought up everything. So pretty much every rental home over there, is owned by Nelly, man. And he just walked around. I saw him at I guess might have been at the Hall of Fame, and he had the long hair and everything. So he's living his best life, man. He's who we all aspire to be. after it's all said and done, and you played forever in the NBA, you coached forever, you coached as long as you wanted to, and now you get to go retire over in Maui and get your own activities that you don't want to do work in.
I know we throw around the legend, moniker almost too often, but I think Don Nelson is at this point, yes, legend.
Oh, legend
status.
no doubt, no doubt. And I mean, you mentioned Dirk, man. Dirk was a great teammate. I mean, one of the best guys you ever want to meet, ever play with. I mean, he's real funny. I mean, like, he's serious and always kind of come off kind of, a little bit nonchalant, aloof, in his interviews and stuff, really, even keel and calm voice. And I just laugh at him because he's one of the biggest cut ups that you ever want to see. And, he likes to have fun. He likes to throw him back a little bit. And I know he's enjoying retirement, but it was just, the guy that you get that ball in his hands and he's facing that rim and square, it's normally going to go in. That's a good way to get you a few assists. So, but definitely one of the best players that I played with him, Ben Wallace, Grant Hill, those guys right up there, some of the best guys that I ever played with.
Your whole career, I think, is defined by a number of things. I mean, the playmaking abilities, the leader you turned into in the latter half of your career, of course, and you have, leadership qualities throughout, but you've always had the reputation of being someone who's fearless. You don't want to mess with, and everybody knows, just ask, Jeff Hornacek or Kirk Snyder that if anybody is interested in debating that point. Which I still love the Kirk Snyder story where there was some tactical strategy involved where you kind of took care of him after the game and didn't. but why? But I think that permeates across, not just from a physical standpoint or altercation standpoint, but I think you've always had that fearless quality in the way you played the game, the way you attacked, the way you made plays, et cetera, et cetera. Where did that come from? Why did you always have that? I think it permeates and transcends into your coaching career as well. Why did you always have that?
Well, I think it comes from my dad, man. I mean, it's like my dad always said, I'm working. I don't play by my job, and I think that's kind of how I approach things. I mean, from a basketball standpoint, I was out there to compete. You can work hard, but I think you got to have that, really that competitive spirit, and I think that's what I competed, and I wasn't a trash talker. I didn't show you up. I might dunk on you. I might dunk on, and I'm going to the other end. I wasn't one of those guys, so I didn't expect you to do that to me. And not chirping and all that. So, I just tried to clean that type of stuff up, and let it know that's not how it's going to be. And I think, just early on, and it was just happened to be Hornacek at that time. Again, it was just, we got into a little something. He said some things, and next thing I know, I got a little push behind my head, and he started walking toward me, and it was just my natural thing just to defend myself. So, but it's not something that I'm proud of. When looking back on it, it was just something. I was young guy, 20 years old, and full of it, boy. So what I'm saying, if you wanted it, I wanted it, so to speak. And I think that's just, and that's where I was. I mean, you were gonna have to beat me. You might have had a little better crossover. Your jump shot might have been better, but you got to beat me. You're gonna have to compete. And I think that's what I stood by. And sometimes when that, men aren't gonna get along all the time. I'm saying? It's just not gonna happen. And I'm from that old school. I'm the youngest of 8 boys, and we got a problem with it. We just kind of handle it a little bit. We still gonna love each other afterwards. And then that's what I learned. And not everybody's able to do that. Not everybody's come from the youngest of 8 boys, and having that type of interaction can scar a relationship. Even though you say that you're cool, you really may not be. And so but I learned from that, man. I hadn't. So I tell everybody, I'm saved now, man. So I go to church, watch my Bible. I don't try to get into all of that good stuff, but at the same time, it's in me to always protect and defend my own, and hopefully I don't ever have to do that. But it's just a natural. My friends, I'm a protector. My families, don't talk about them to me, you know what I'm saying? Tell that to somebody else. So I just think that's who I am and who I'll always be.
Which many people who played against you did, which was good news for a lot of folks. Let me ask you this, because you've always had, when your playing career wrapped, you always had that strong desire, the dedication, the devotion to get into coaching, and you've certainly had the unique path. I mean, NBA assistant, head coach of a G League team, and that was, of course, up in Toronto. And heck, you had a lot of folks tell you, don't take a G League job, stay an NBA assistant. But one thing that you have said over the years that stands out to me is, I mean, you can either kind of lead, you can follow, or be the one who makes the decisions. Or I think, as you said it once, you can make suggestions or make decisions. Why has that been really, really important to you in terms of the way, I guess, just your goals as a coach as it develops?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just, for me, it was like I didn't think about college a lot. You know, again, I was in the pros. I played for a long time. I kind of got into the G League. I was a pro coach, and then there was an opportunity that came about to come to college. So, there's been a fair share of my learning curve. Just as much as I'm teaching, I'm learning things. I'm learning the officials. I'm learning different places I've never been. Learning the road. I'm learning how the games are called. I'm learning stuff from other coaches and different things that we play. How different things that they teach and that can be effective. So it's always like basketball is evolving. You don't get to a point where you just say, "Oh, I'm a coach now." You're dead if you do that. You always got to be involved and be humble enough to continue to learn from other people that that know the game. But I do feel that I have a ton of experiences and a ton of understanding of good basketball and how to deal with people. More so than anything is dealing with people. So I think that's the more of what I try to focus on.
Let me ask you this. We referenced it at the top. Rules have changed. Transfer rule. We of course have seen a certain proliferation of players moving, which I think they have every right to. How much of your staff, though, now or how much of your staff responsibilities is basically dedicated to almost like roster management, keeping tabs on which players are maybe in the portal, transferring? What's the management like based around this?
Uh, that's an interesting one, man. It's like, again, I think we still have a target of guys that's, you know, high school kids, right? Like the juniors, the rising seniors, the rising juniors, trying to fill. But obviously, we're aware of the transfer portal now, and it's not foregone to think that maybe people hold a scholarship knowing that there's going to be a unhappy freshman who's already been on campus, who's gotten a lot stronger, who's still going to have 3 years, and he's going to be locked in. After he transfer, he's not going to be able to just up and leave because he's already used his one-time transfer rule. And now you can really start trying to build your team with guys that that you're going to have. But it's still, obviously people put a lot into the rankings and where you are in the recruiting battles and different things like that. But I just think this could change the game completely, to where my focus ain't trying to be to the top with a high school kid who's going to come in here and he can bounce on me in a year because he's not playing the way that he and everyone around him wants him to play. But again, that's part of recruiting. You got to kind of understand and know the kids, get to know the kids, know their parents, and talk about things not going your way. What's your problem? You're going to continue to work, or you're going to bounce. I think those are the new changes that we're going to see with this. But it's still like, I don't think there's a blueprint. It's just again, you deal with people, you manage with people, and you try to do what's best for your team. And for us, we've taken advantage of the transfer portal. We got some older guys this year, so we lost a guy. We lost probably one of our best players. If not inside and out. To wanting to get back home. Again, the pandemic scarred some people. So I think that's just the reality of the time we live in. Do I still love that kid? Do we pour a lot into him and do appreciate what he did for us here? He was a scholar athlete. All of those great things. But wanting to be back home, wanting to get back to, and that's what this thing has opened itself up to and we all just got to adjust to it.
How do you, just as a quick follow-up, how do you balance that? Because there is that, I suppose, dueling mindsets of, hey, I want to be empathetic or help a player achieve where they want to be, mixed with, hey, progress isn't perfect or linear sometimes. Like, you can still achieve a lot just because you didn't play a whole lot your first year. How do you balance those two things where you're trying to let a player know perhaps where you could still achieve quite a bit just because you have deemed your progress isn't totally linear and perfect, while also saying, all right, I mean, I do want to be empathetic and try to help you achieve what you'd like to. How do you balance that?
I mean, just think it's part of the teaching, man, and they see themselves. I think how we teach and how we watch film and being able to see yourselves, and you see the progression. You see you're making the same mistakes in January that you were making in October. How the hell you think I'm gonna play you? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was cool. I mean, freshmen come in here and your learning curve, all right. But then there's guys that come in and they pick it up right away. Those are the guys that are going to play. And so I think just being able to communicate, man, I think that's the key word to dealing with what you got to be able to communicate with them. Let them know where they stand. Let them know what's going on. Because kids that try to fool you, man, come in and like, Coach, what what can I do to kind of give them a minutes up and whatnot? Boy, you've been in all these film sessions with me for all these past 3 weeks and been watching yourself, and you're gonna tell me what you need to do. You need to do what you've been screwing up. You know what I'm saying? So it's as simple as that. And so I think that's the being candid, being honest, touching them, letting them know you care about them, but at the same time, man, we got to be honest with what's going on, and I think that's what my guys will tell you. Like I said, we're not gonna play games. We're not gonna try to jive each other. We're gonna be honest, and we're gonna hold each other accountable. And I'm looking for a group of guys to do that too. And I think that's when you really see really good teams, when guys start policing themselves.
All right, a few quick ones because you've got to go. Ready to do it?
Let's get it.
Let's do it. All right. Do you wear a suit combination more than once?
Yes.
Who is your tailor? Or tailor?
I got a couple of tailor. I got Hideaki and Beckenberg out of New York. One's out of Atlanta, one's out of New York.
You can choose, one bottle of red wine with dinner. What is it? Which one?
Quintessa.
Best teammate and why that you played with?
I say Ben Wallace. He's the hell of a rebound, and most of all of his offensive rebounds, he was kicking it back to me, and I was able to shoot it again. So, but no, he's just a good friend, great guy.
All right,
Hall of Famer too.
Absolutely. How did you get on MTV Cribs?
Because I had one of the hottest cribs in Michigan. More or less Detroit. So I think that's. Word got out, and next thing I know, I was on MTV Cribs. I cringe when I watch that right now. As cheesy as I was, but but my kids and my players, they have fun with it.
Hey, that was a rite of passage back then. I mean, that is a distinction that I think everybody wanted. Outside of basketball, how do you declutter the mind or expand your mind in a non-basketball way?
Golf. I'm saying I get out there, and I'm not a great golfer, but I hit enough good shots to keep me coming back and like to be out there. And I like boating. I get out on my little center console or get out on the pontoon and just get in the middle of the water. And I don't think there's anything more relaxing than that.
Last one, more impressive, Trae Young dropping 48 last night, or Monty Williams' out of bounds play with a second left, the screen, the pass, the dunk, DeAndre Ayton?
Well, I think hopefully everybody got to play similar to that in their arsenal, but they executed it well. But I definitely think Trae Young is showing that he's special, and man, unbelievable. Playing in the pick and roll. I mean, if they're going to stay back, then. The way that they are, which I know they have to adjust because he's just too good. Him getting downhill with so many decisions, and he's making the right decisions. It's gonna be a long series for the Bucks if they don't change that coverage fast.
Maybe more shimmies to come. We'll have to wait and see. But Jerry Stackhouse, the head coach of the Vanderbilt a men's basketball team, terrific playing career, one that is certainly iconic and a lot of people remember. Hey, you're kind of take some time out. Always enjoy talking hoops with you, and thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me, Ken. Thanks.